This video is one of the kind that I promised you for Black Belt Secrets, and that is, what do I really think? Now, there's a lot of people complaining about the sentence for Hugh Edwards in the media. And if you're not familiar with it, you'll have to look it up because I can't say too much about the offense. They were horrific offenses, which he admitted doing and has been given a sentence, which I'll come on to in a minute. But I can't say too much about it because this video will get flagged, no one will see it and so on. But a lot of people will want my opinion. Now, the caveat to this is it's just my opinion. It's not intended to criticize the judge for reasons I will explain. And it is, as I say, it's just my opinion. And I feel that you deserve this because I've told you for a long time now, come to Black Belt Secrets to subscribe here for my opinions. So that's what you get here. Now, I don't agree with this sentence. Now, I'm not going to say the judge is wrong because not only am I not a criminal practitioner myself, I've done bits and pieces of criminal work, but I am certainly not a specialist. So I'm not going to tell the judge that he's wrong with the sentence any more than the judge would tell me that I'm wrong with something to do with Taekwondo, which I am a master 7th degree black belt. So let's just get that clear here. I'm not criticizing the judge here for reasons I'll explain. But I don't agree with the sentence. I think offenses of this nature really should warrant somebody going to prison. And that might be an emotional response. It might be because of the severe nature of these offenses, and it might be just what I think about these, that I think someone should spend time in prison, even if it's a shorter amount of time. It should have that effect. Now, I'm going to come to the sentencing remarks, which does explain why this sentence has been suspended. Let me explain very briefly. Now we're just about to pass the 2-minute mark of this video. I can tell you a little bit about what these are and what the sentence was. Now, these offenses were to do with imagery of children of the worst kind. And that's probably about as far as I can say. You can look it up and find out the rest if you're not familiar with it. Now, he was given sentences here of 12 months for one offense, 4 months for another offense, 2 months for another offense to run concurrently at the same time, with mitigating factors to reduce them to 9 months, and then apply credit for the early guilty plea, reducing it by a further 3 months, meaning a total of 6 months, and no separate penalty for any of the other things that he had admitted doing. And then it was suspended. So any sentence that is under 2 years can be suspended. It's going to be more than 14 days, I think it is, and no more than 2 years. A custodial sentence can be suspended for no more than 2 years. And it must cross the custody threshold, which means, very broadly speaking, it must be so severe that neither a fine nor a community order or combination thereof would be sufficient for the offending. Now, there is an inherent contradiction there in that, well, if you suspend a sentence and it crossed the custody threshold, why is that the case? Because if something crosses the custody threshold and they should go to prison, why is it then suspended? Well, that's an entirely separate matter. And it's why I don't criticize the judge, because the rules and the guidelines are there and they are set, and the judge has to follow them. So the judge has pretty much gone through a textbook approach to the sentencing guidelines, looked at everything that's happened, looked at all the reports, which I haven't looked at. I've looked at the sentencing remarks, but I haven't looked at all the reports. Obviously, I wasn't there. I'm not the judge. But the judge said this: I've also carefully considered the guideline in imposing a custodial sentence and considered factors both for and against suspending of a sentence. I am of the clear view that you do not present a risk or danger to the public at large, specifically children. And the focus of the sentencing purposes should be on rehabilitation, and that punishment is not only achieved by way of immediate custody, and the fact that there's a realistic prospect of rehabilitation and strong personal mitigation, in particular your neurovulnerabilities, mental health issues at the time, and your remorse, which I accept is genuine. So threefold, really. One is, judge says he takes the view that he's not a risk to the general public at large, specifically children, and that sentencing should focus on rehabilitation, and that there are strong personal mitigating factors. Now, I know that there are a lot of people in the comments section that are going to say rubbish. A lot of people in the comments section have already said, this is nonsense. It doesn't matter if you have this personal mitigation. It doesn't matter if you're being rehabilitated, and that he is, in some people's view, a danger to the public, because this is the circle and the cycle of this kind of offending, which perpetuates the harm that this kind of offending causes, and thus is bad. Thus, it is a danger to the public at large. You may take that view. I may take that view. Again, as a very personal view here, without criticizing the judge, I will say that as a personal, somewhat emotionally driven response, I would say, yeah, I think this is a risk to the public at large, because someone who is prepared to do those things are taking part in this overall kind of offending, which means that that kind of offending continues. Now, granted, the judge's reasoning here is that one of the purposes is rehabilitation, and it's not just achieved by immediate custody, that there is, judge says, a realistic prospect of rehabilitation here and strong personal mitigation, etc., in that he had previous good character, various other explanations of remorse, which I'm not going to go into in this video. Again, it will get flagged and buried and no one will see it. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about by now, you need to go and look it up and then come back and watch this video from the start. That will make a lot more sense. But as I say, this video really is fulfilling my promise to you that I will give you my opinions here. With the caveats, I'm not criticizing the judge. I'm not a criminal specialist. I'm not a judge. And this is a somewhat human response to this. I don't think this is right. I think that someone who is guilty of these offenses, very serious, arguably in the category of the most serious offenses here, should go to prison. Because there should be this absolute deterrent. Now, particularly when you take this into account with other offenses, such as people posting things on Facebook, which they quite obviously didn't really literally mean, in my view at least. They posted it out of anger, the heat of the moment, and they just posted these things because they were really angry about what was going on. What they believed to be going on, because they might have been mistaken about what was going on. They might have read something that was misinformation, which is another reason misinformation is really bad. They might have read that and then posted something as a result of that because they were really angry. And that is linked with the riots and the inciting violence and immediate violence and all of that sort of stuff. Because they were all linked, they went straight to prison. Because they made those posts, they were, on the face of it, encouraging someone to go out and do these things. Whether they really meant it or not is entirely another matter. They probably didn't literally mean it. Maybe they did. I don't know. But on one argument, they probably didn't literally mean it. But they said it, and therefore it's enticing violence, and you shouldn't do that. And for the avoidance of doubt, I don't agree with those posts. I don't think you should post those things. But at the same time, should you really be going to prison for those things? That's another question. Now, regardless of what I think about that, those people did go to prison for those things. They did go to prison for posting things on Facebook, whether they were right or not. As I said, I don't agree with those posts, but they went to prison for those posts. Therefore, I don't think you can marry up the two and still have entire integrity and respect for the justice system when there's a justification here for suspending a sentence and someone doesn't go to prison for this kind of offense, when people posting things on Facebook, albeit to do with riots and violent disorder, which I absolutely don't agree with, they went to prison, and here it's suspended. I just think that's disproportionate. I think that is going to lead to a lot of people losing respect for the system. That's my opinion. I think those that make the sentencing guidelines probably need to take this into account, because I think if you were to canvass the public at large, what they think about this, I think the public at large will have very strong views about this. And I think the public at large will very, very broadly support a custodial sentence. Now, just for the avoidance of doubt, it is a custodial sentence, but it's suspended. So it's crossed the custody threshold so that there is a custodial sentence imposed, but it's been suspended for the maximum amount of time available. So suspended for 2 years. And there are other requirements, which, again, I can't go into. The video will get banned. But there are requirements and consequences of breach. It says there'll be a custodial term of 6 months, suspended for 2 years. If in that period you commit any offence, then you'll be brought back to court, and the sentence may be brought into operation, i.e. you'll go to prison for the original sentence and any subsequent sentence, and so on. And then there's different requirements and, meeting with a supervisor and complying with instructions. And if you fail to meet these instructions and breach the order, etc., then you'll be brought back to court and liable to serve the sentence. So there are other things in play there. It's not just off you go. There are other things in play. But I had to do this video because I need to know, for my integrity, I take my integrity seriously. And that's why I'm not shooting down the judge here. I'm saying, well, first of all, judge is very much more experienced in these areas than I am. So I can't say the judge is wrong. And the judge is following the guidelines, which are set, and all the rest of it. But for my integrity's sake, I will also say, I've promised you what I really think about this. That's what I really think. Now, I get shot down often. Actually, there was some guy on X just recently I had a brief exchange with who had a go at me for giving any kind of opinion on X. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, that's X. That's my personal X account where I can say pretty much what I like within reason because I'm a member of the bar. So I can't bring the bar into disrepute, nor would I ever dream of doing so. But implying that because on my main, I call my main channel, my Black Belt Barrister channel, I said, there I'll give you a clear explanation of the law and not my personal opinions. And where they are my opinions, I'll make clear that it's my opinions, but my real opinions are reserved here, Black Belt Secrets. So one post of mine on X hinted at an opinion, and he really didn't like that. But the irony of someone who I didn't know giving his opinion that I shouldn't have an opinion, the irony there is uncanny. But anyway, my integrity is that I told you that you can come here for my real opinions. My real opinion here is that he should have gone to prison. He should have spent at least some time in prison. We actually kind of knew he wouldn't ahead of time. My learned friend Alan Robert Shaw from Art of Law, he's linked below, go and check him out, somewhat undershot the prediction, actually said he's likely to get a community order. But instead, he's got a suspended sentence order. So sort of right in a sense in that there is an order to comply with certain requirements and didn't go to prison. Undershot it a little bit. So this is even, the suspended sentence order is even more serious than we predicted that he would get, which tells you, in a sense, how bonkers this really is. So again, not blaming the judge here. These are the guidelines. The judge has followed the guidelines and imposed a sentence following the rules. There's an excellent thread about it by the Secret Barrister. Again, I'm not going to link it in case it gets this video flagged, but go and check out Secret Barrister on X. There's a whole thread about this, explaining in more detail than I probably could. There's my other video on Black Belt Barrister where I give a brief overview in video terms, so you can listen to that. And you can check out Secret Barrister's thread, which will explain in much more detail why this is the correct sentence that the judge has followed, despite all my personal views otherwise. And they are very much just personal views. So I stress they are personal views, but my views nonetheless. I promised you my views here on Secrets. That's what you're here for. That's what you get. So if you want more of my personal views on all of these things, please do subscribe. I'll see you next time.